So today I'm going to be sharing something a little different than usual, and that is a failed run because I believe that the rapid acquisition mission as of the new Magma Planet update is genuinely almost impossible for solo players. And if you've played this mission, you probably know exactly why. If you have not, this mission requires you to spend a lot of time carrying heavy objects. They're platinum ingots or whatever, but they're more or less like sieve shells where you can't fight, you can't sprint, you just have to carry the object, and you have to carry 30 of them through a 15-minute mission. And doing this just by itself would already take quite a while for a solo player. But when you add in the fact that there is a constant, unending stream of just an immense amount of bots, it becomes impossible because you can't fight the bots while you're carrying the ingots, but if you don't fight the bots, they stack up in ridiculous numbers and they kill you and you can't carry the ingots anyways. So then you go and fight the bots, and all the time you're spending the bots is time not carrying the ingots, and then you run out of time because you aren't carrying the ingots you're fighting. So I think the math just doesn't add up. I think it might theoretically be possible, especially if you find a way to cheese it, maybe with smoke stratagems or something to confuse the bots in general. It could be possible, but in straight up honest play, I this run for me was about as perfect as I could get it. I could not replicate a better run. There were no factory striders that spawned. This was the best map seed. There were no war striders. And I generally didn't have too much bad luck with the enemies, and I still could only make it to 24 out of 30 ingots. And then I ran out of time. So I would love to see it if somebody was actually capable of doing this and how they did it, but for me, I'm just going to share this honestly pretty good attempt in my opinion, just because I cannot bash my head into the wall anymore. I'm sick of this mission. They're probably going to nerf it at some point. I wouldn't be surprised because something doesn't feel like it's functioning correctly. It's just the bots like actually trip over each other trying to get to you. There's that many. But anyway, let's get into the build I used for this specific run, and that is the supply pack because you just need stims. You're going to take damage all the time. You need stim, you need grenades, and more importantly, you need ultimatum shots because this is the only anti-tank I could fit into this build, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but the supply pack gives you more of all the things you need to stay alive, and when paired with experimental infusion, that synergizes really well with all the extra stims you get. I could not make this work at all without the supply pack. It's how you know I'm getting sweaty is when I bring this thing out. The 500 kg because I needed something to take out big clumps of heavies. Sometimes I would see 4, 5, 6 hulks stack up on top of each other, and just nothing else in the game does that without also blowing me up. So the 500 kg was a good solution, and it's not terrible against factory striders, even if it's not absolutely the best. But there's really no stratagem that's all that great against factory striders. Even rail cannon strikes don't one-shot them reliably, which kind of baffled me. I didn't know that. I thought they did up until I tried them for this specific mission. I tried a lot of things for this mission. I'll go over them as we play the game footage. But next, I'm going to use the rocket sentry. This thing is a little tough to keep alive, but the amount of damage it can put out is like bar none. This thing does so much damage and has so much ammo that if you can keep it alive, it will not single-handedly get rid of the hordes for you because there are genuinely that many bots, but I don't think anything else in the game can do as good of a job of fighting the immense amounts of enemy here as a rocket sentry you can actually keep alive. So when it survives, it gets a ton of value. When it dies, it's a wasted stratagem slot. I think it's a worthwhile gamble for how powerful it is. Oops, right-clicked one too many times. And finally, gas mines, because you just need something to stop the horde from running you down. There's a ton of berserkers, there's a ton of scorcher hulks, there's a ton of just troopers running at you constantly, and you need something in between you and them. Now, I also tried the EMS mortar for this spot, but gas actually kills enemies, even if not very fast, so it was my preferred pick over this. And gas mines tend to get countered less easily than the EMS mortar. I don't think this is bad, especially in teams. This would probably be a pretty good pick. Maybe even better than gas mines because this friendly fire. But this actually kills enemies and it helps whittle away at the, hordes. And experimental infusion because I'm going to be popping sims like crazy, so I want to get the bonuses from this thing. Specifically the movement speed, because the movement speed really, really makes a difference in completing this mission faster. Because this is a hot planet, and I don't think it's reasonable to wear anything but heavy armor in this mission. There's just too much damage coming your way. Experimental infusion really helps you up your movement speed a little bit, and the damage reduction is nice. I won't have full gas immunity with vitality enhancement, but that's fine. For my primary, I use the Scorcher for this specific run. Just a lot of reliable plasma damage, very flexible to use. The only weakness is that it has a terrible ammo economy, but you have a supply pack, so that's not a big deal with this build. It's just pretty decent across the board. I didn't get great use out of it this run, I don't think, but this is a good pick. I also experimented with the Plasma Punisher, but it was a little too slow, even if the stagger was nice, and the Purifier, but the charge up would get interrupted all the time by rockets and just ragdolls and the amount of bullshit that's getting thrown at you all the time. So the Scorcher ended up being my favorite of the plasma weapons. The heavy gas armor, and now this is the pick I'm the least happy about, but when I wore the ragdoll resist armor, it barely did anything. I felt like it barely did anything at least. And the explosive armor, I would get constantly ragdolled into the gas, and the gas would kill me. So I figured heavy gas resist could prevent a couple deaths to my own gas mines. Even if I don't plan to spend too much time in the gas, this is still going to be really helpful when I do have to go in there. And it lets me be a little more aggressive with my gas mine deployments and get better use out of them. The ultimatum, because this is one of the best anti-tank tools that you don't have to reload, because the recoilless rifle, you don't have time to shoot it, to actually sit there and reload it with the stationary reload. You just run out of time in the mission, or you get run down. So the ultimatum is nice because you can just instantly swap to your secondary if there's a problematic heavy, pop it, reload, and keep going. And that's the fastest way to deal with heavies without needing to dedicate a stratagem slot. I tried bringing eats, I tried bringing commandos, but all of those, again, were too slow and did not provide enough value, so just supply pack ultimatum was the best I could find. And now this is kind of a wildcard pick, but the dynamite was actually really, really good. Because the bots clump up so much, and there's so many devastators and berserkers and tanky units that don't die to the gas. The dynamite was actually really good at cleaning them up. It's pretty dangerous to you because it can bounce back and hit you and has a pretty big radius, but in terms of clearing out clumps of medium enemies, this thing is unmatched. It is really good at that. And since you have the supply pack, you can really spam them out like crazy, even if you only get 3. So I was throwing these at every single opportunity I got at the choke points, and this thing racked up probably more kills than anything else in the loadout. Except maybe the rocket sentry. This dynamite is actually really, really good on this mission. Thermite I considered, again, just too slow. This is an insanely fast mission. You do not have any time to waste. You cannot run around and kite a Hulk Scorcher that's been thermited. Like, those 5 seconds it takes to detonate is actually too long. Which sounds crazy, but you'll see. Anyway, I think that's it for the build, so I will see you guys in the mission. Okay, I hope that didn't come through, but I'm trying to help future me edit this. So, this mission's fucking crazy, and I really wanted to be able to do it before they almost certainly nerf it. I just couldn't figure it out. And I could have kept bashing my head against the wall, and I think if I had genuinely like a perfect run, like actually perfect and no flaws, then I could do it. But let me get into it. This is going to be really intense, so I'm going to have to talk very fast. My least favorite part about this mission is that the LZ, when you land, everywhere on the map is just infested with enemies and cannon turrets and defenses. So it is such already a clusterfuck to even get set up before the enemies come in. And that makes the mission so much more difficult. This time I got lucky and I didn't die right at the start, but 9 times out of 10, I would just get instantly melted by like 2 machine gun turrets, multiple Hulks, War Striders, cannons. Here I'm trying to take out the machine gunner over there, but that's actually a tank, and I keep shooting at him because I can't see him. Because there's a machine gun position over there that gave me a lot of trouble throughout this, especially when I was using the Plasma Punisher, and it was really hard to hit him. But there's a machine gunner over there who will just shred you as you're trying to do this. But anyway, this is the map seed where I think it is the most possible to actually do this solo. because the enemies come in from a very funneled angle, and the position to get platinum ingots, at least at the start, is pretty safe. Compared to the other map where you start like in sight range of like 3 cannon turrets, and you just have no cover and enemies come at you from every single side, this is actually kind of doable, I think, on this map. But as you can tell, my sentry, I think, actually used up all of its ammo. The rocket sentry did a pretty good job there, or at least most of it. But you see enemies are just stacking up like crazy, and even though gas mines are taking them out and the rocket sentry is taking them out, I'm throwing dynamite, I'm throwing explosives, just more enemies keep coming constantly. And every second I spend fighting an enemy is a second I'm not carrying platinum ingots. Now, if you do the math, for this mission, you need to carry 2 ingots a minute in order to actually keep pace with the mission timer, because it's 15 minutes, 30 ingots, and that is just a really tough ask. So even though it takes a little bit less long to run back and forth from the like depository, like cargo container, whatever you're putting these into, the mission objective, and the platinum ingots, it takes a little under 30 seconds, I think. I didn't really measure it specifically because there's a lot of variables. If you spend any time at all fighting the enemies, you just run out of time. And even not being particularly efficient with how I'm carrying it, because you can get flinched while you're doing the drop tech like that, is just such a time waster, and it's kind of crazy. But you do have to do the drop tech. It is just too slow to carry them without it. You just end up, even when you drop it and have a hard time getting back to it, there goes the rocket sentry, unfortunately, you still like save way too much time to not do it. But as you can tell, this is a really difficult mission to commentate over, like post facto. Like, I can't, I do something stupid and I don't pay attention to my own dynamite, so maybe this mission didn't go as perfectly as it could have. But my respawn isn't terrible. I do get into a safe position immediately where I can pick up my supply backpack, and that's not always the case. Sometimes the respawn sends you like miles and miles away, and you just can't recover your stuff easily and things spiral out of control. But here it wasn't too bad. Enemies have swarmed where I was, so I do need to clear them out, and this again wastes a little bit of time. So this run is not 100% perfect. But as soon as I can get back to it, I just keep carrying the ingots and doing my best to not get absolutely thwacked by this Hulk. But it's honestly, even though the ultimatum reload is not stationary and it doesn't take that long, it's kind of hard to find windows to do it sometimes. And that's why I considered eats. But eats also have a pretty long arm time after you switch to them. Like 2 to 3 seconds, which is often interrupted by ragdolls. And commandos just don't do enough damage, like per second. Like the cooldown is too slow for how much damage a commando does, so it wasn't viable either in this build. Plus, dedicating a stratagem slot to a support weapon is not something I can do, because I just need all the damage output I can get to deal with the amount of enemies that are being sent at me right now. But this map is really good. At least this specific seed is really good, because here you have a little bit of a safe zone where you can set up the rocket sentry and it'll have pretty good angles. It might ragdoll you a little bit sometimes. Here it helped me because it sent the platinum ingot forward a little bit. But here it's got a good angle where it can fire at most of the enemies coming towards you without being too exposed to return fire. And see, it takes out tanks, it takes out heavies. This thing's really good until that happens. But even then, there's just nothing you can do about it. I don't think there's a better stratagem to put in that slot. I tried anti-tank mines, and they would kill me way too often because I would just get ragdolled into them and a bot grenade would set them off extremely frequently. And throwing them further away would just mean they wouldn't get value because the enemies aren't far away, they're right on top of me. So it was kind of a catch-22 where you just... Theoretically, they would be good, but in practice, they ended up being too impractical. So I'm still getting lucky. with a lot of these spawns. So far, it has not been this bad. Believe it or not, this is actually pretty relaxed as far as these missions go. But gas mines and TNT are doing a huge amount of heavy lifting. If you guys have been paying attention to the little skull icon, you can see every time I throw dynamite, like at least 10 kills usually. And on top of that, the gas just clears up all these small chaff troopers. But now I'm going to start bringing it to the Eagle 500 kg reserves, because I really just need to get as much damage out as possible to manage the enemies before they stack up and become unmanageable. And even though this is like a very good layout for this mission, and all the enemies come in from a pretty predictable angle typically, you still just barely have enough to even keep up with the horde, much as beat it back long enough to do the objective. So as I'm watching this, I'm trying to think of other options that I haven't tried, but if you name it, I've probably tried it. I spent a long time trying to make this mission work. Because I tried the other missions as well, and then I saw this one, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I gotta figure out a way I can solo this before they nerf it. I really want to try this, because it seems like quite a challenge. And quite a challenge it is. But at this point, I genuinely think it's theoretically impossible. Because again, at the ratio I was talking at, where you need to get 2 ingots per minute, so an ingot every 30 seconds, that leaves almost no downtime to actually fight enemies. Like, it would be... You would still need to, like, hurry up a little bit, even if there were no enemies to do this objective solo, I think. Like, you would only have a couple minutes left, so I think out of the entire mission, you can maybe spend, like, 10% of it actually fighting enemies. At like a rough estimate, it feels like, or you run out of time. Here I spent like 15% of it fighting enemies, and 90, or math is hard, 85% actually carrying ingots, I think, and I was still 6 short. Or in other words, the mission would have needed 3 more minutes for me to actually be able to complete it. So honestly, if they add an extra 5 minutes to this, I think it's doable solos 100%. I'm not sure I would attempt it again, because holy shit, it's really frustrating. Not this part that you're seeing here. I actually think it's pretty fun to have to fight this many enemies in this scenario, but the frustrating part is that you just gotta re-roll the mission until you get this layout without Worst Riders. Because if you get Worst Riders on either of the layouts, or if you get the other layouts, I think it is genuinely impossible to do the mission solo. Because you're so exposed and Worst Riders are so oppressive and tanky that you don't have time to fight them, or, you know, even be able to survive from them. So this is, you just have to re-roll until you get this mission without Worst Riders, and this layout without Worst Riders specifically, which is really annoying, because the worst I got it was 6 times in a row where I didn't get that, and that just tilted me to no end, and I started playing even worse after that. But anyway, believe it or not, that was the easy part, because this part's much harder. I've exhausted all the platinum ingots in the first area, so now I have to go to the second area in this little canyon, trench, mine, quarry area, and that was way more exposed and way harder to defend than the first one. You still can get pretty good dynamites off on the enemies behind you, and you still have a little bit of cover in this area. But it's just not even like close to as safe as the first area I was stationed in. So maybe it might be a better idea to start with this area in the future and go to the other one later. But also you do want to go to the other area first, because it's easier to stabilize from there and deal with all the static defenders that are there when the mission spawns. So see, now I'm really in like full overtime. I am ignoring enemies, I'm running, I'm doing my best to go as fast as humanly possible with these ingots. And just hope the gas and the dynamite and the rocket sentries do their job. And occasionally sending out an ultimatum shot here or there. Regular Hulks, or Bruiser Hulks with the ones with the rockets and the cannons, are pretty scary because of the ragdoll, but it's really the Scorcher Hulks that will cause you the most problems. Because they will just run up to your rocket sentry and instantly delete it. without it being able to fire back, because it gets shy when enemies are too close and doesn't shoot. So Scorcher Hulks are absolutely a priority. Flamethrower Hulks, if you don't know the official names, I always forget as well. So I've been so lucky at this point because no Factory Striders have shown up, and I don't have a good way to deal with them, aside from hoping a good 500 kg hit and then an ultimatum shot or two, and maybe even some rocket sentry shots. But you just do not have room in your loadout to bring something genuinely good against Factory Striders, and there you see, I'm lucky that that hasn't happened more. Because the entire mission, usually I just spend 90% of it getting ragdolled by Rocket Striders, and those ragdolls just have an extremely high chance of getting you killed by sending you into a bad situation like that. And before you say it, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, the ragdoll armor does not help with this mission. I tried it, and I would still get ragdolled constantly. And losing out on the gas resist or the explosive resist of the other frontrunners was just not worth it. Like, it prevented the occasional ragdoll, but it was barely noticeable. You still spent just as much time ragdolled and died just as often, in my opinion. But maybe I should do videos directly on Rock Solid and see how that goes. But anyway, now this is just kind of more of the same. I'm still running. I'm still doing everything I can to get as many of those platinum bars into the cargo container. There it is. It's on the top right. And you see just huge amounts of Devastators. I don't have time to sit there and shoot them with any primary. It takes too long. Just throw dynamite and hope it clears enough of them out. And now we're at 2 minutes. So I am way behind on pace because in ideal circumstances, again, well, let's say the average time to get ingots you want to get into the cargo container is 30 seconds per ingot. I straight up do not have the time to complete this mission at that pace. And I'm still getting distracted by enemies because MG Raiders can one-shot you or like one-burst you. So you can't ignore them completely unless they're in gas, which, you know, they aren't. So see, this time now that I'm spending putting out my stratagems is time I'm not carrying ingots. And again, I'm just getting further and further and further behind. And at this point, I think I realize that it's over for this run. But this is still probably the best one I had at this point. Well, it definitely is, because I have not been able to replicate a better one even after that. And I really want to do everything I can to see, hey, maybe there's going to be a little time after the mission. Maybe I'll get a little time to put in more platinum ingots. Just like a grace window while the Pelican is coming. You can probably guess how that goes by how I'm talking about it. But now 30 seconds left. Trying my best to get this ingot despite the Scorcher Hulk following me very aggressively. Deal with him, but I'm going to get ragdolled by his Death Explosion. Because I hate the fact that Hulk explosions or Hulk corpses ragdoll you. I'm sorry, I'm super frazzled because I'm just coming off trying this over and over again, and it just fried my brain something fierce. But now there's 4 seconds left, and I still do not have anything, and they're just final insult to injury, unlucky one shot from Rocket Striders. And here's the real kicker. At this point, I'm like, okay, it's going to be really tough, but maybe I can lock in and not die and be able to get the last of the platinum ingots into the container. But guess what? This is a mission like high value assets where the shuttle comes immediately. And here it's a little bugged, so it's resetting, so maybe I could have finished it, but I didn't notice that at the time. You get 0 extra seconds to actually complete the mission, and that's kind of fucked up. So that's my best attempt. I may try and revisit this in the future. I'm not even sure I'll upload this video because honestly I think I've been rambling like crazy. This has not been my best work, but this mission has turned me crazy. Let's be real. This is a crazy mission for crazy people, and only somebody crazy would try to solo out D10. Let's be honest. But I genuinely, unless I just had the perfect run where I had made no mistakes and had no deaths, I'm still not even sure I could do it. It would be really, really, really close. Because there I died a couple times, sure. But 6 ingots, that's 3 more minutes. Can I really save 3 minutes in a 15-minute mission? I don't know. I don't think it's possible without some extreme cheese, unfortunately. But maybe other people have already done it by the time I've uploaded this video. Still, my experience is that this is impossible. Anyway, it was a little bit different than usual. I was definitely rambling, but I hope you guys enjoyed. And I have no more thoughts, so I will see you all in the next video.